exciting work going on in City Hall right now. A lot of groundwork has been laid over the past couple of months.
Yes.
Yeah. Capital improvement projects, an incredible planning document that is paving the way for our budget coming up.
We have outlined projects by department, by fiscal year, and by function. For example, in administration, it's vehicles and computers. In police, it's police cars, vehicles. In the fire department, they've got a fairly diverse request over 5 years. There's some technology improvements. There's a request to remodel, renovate Fire Station number 5 on Henry Road. And then there is a request to purchase a new fire truck. I believe it's in 2021, but that would be funded through general fund and the fire tax fund. We're also advocating, and this is going to be challenging with our finances, but we need to get on a cycle of road resurfacing. We've had a period here because of the economy where the city of Anniston has not resurfaced some roads in a couple of years. And citizens know it. I mean, we hear about it at City Hall, the council hears about it. It's going to be a challenge. But one of the things we'd like to do is at least begin to undertake a program to resurface, particularly some of the high volume traffic roads. I know we probably have some residential streets in worse condition, but we need to attack the major arteries, the collector streets first, because that's where the traffic is. We are operating on a very limited budget. So if a project is proposed, if a new project is proposed, we have to identify the funding for that. Mm-hmm. And that may mean another project gets delayed or deferred. You know, and that's a decision that only the mayor and council can make.
I live here. I've lived here a long time. I'm a citizen of Anniston. How am I going to recognize these projects?
There's a couple of different ways. One might be if we undertake a drainage project in your neighborhood. There's money set aside for drainage projects. It might be if a street you drive frequently is resurfaced, repaved. You know, a citizen probably wouldn't see it every day, but I would argue the opposite is true. If you don't do this planning, if you don't make the capital investments, you will see it in a negative way. The $3 million issue that the council just approved, for example, it had money in there for re-roofing a building. It had money in there to put new gutters on an existing building to help with drainage. It had money to do some irrigation improvements to the golf course. You may not play golf, but you don't want to lose the grass and the greens, the fairways at the golf course. You know, it's an investment of the city. So much of our infrastructure, our streets, water, sewer, parks, community centers were developed years ago, decades ago, when the population was significantly larger.
Right.
So we have almost a two-pronged challenge. One is, do we need that many facilities? How can we best utilize those facilities? And then second, the maintenance cost. Many of our buildings are either nearing the end of their useful life or nearing the end of the first phase of their life and need substantial renovation. You know, cities do not go to the bond market every year, much like you don't borrow for home improvements. It's one of those things that it's a very deliberate process and should only be considered every couple of years. And again, that's one of the ways you maintain your AA rating. If you have too much debt for the city of your size or too much debt based upon your budget, then that's a negative. And we are not. Despite what the challenges we have with an economy, our debt load compared to our budget is relatively small. When you go to buy a new home, you borrow the money over a long period of time. If you go to make improvements to a home you already own, you may take out a home equity loan. The city does the same thing. We do either short-term capital outlay notes, which are usually 10 to 15 years, or we do a 20 to 30-year general obligation bond. Because a city government is tax exempt, a county government is tax exempt, we have a lower financing rate. As you know, the city just borrowed $3 million. We closed on it in the month of June. Our interest rate on that for 15 years, the net interest cost was 3.6%, which is a very good rate.
It pays to be a city.
Those bonds carry what is generally referred to as the full faith and credit of the city. Under that, the city is making an obligation to the individuals that buy those bonds, and in many cases it is individuals, that the city will repay those bonds. It's important to remember that the infrastructure of this city has been paid for by the residents who have lived here for many years, for decades. Their property tax dollars, their sales tax dollars, they have gone back in and built these roads, built these buildings, developed the parks, and it's incumbent upon this generation to reinvest. We're not talking about building new roads. We're not talking about buying land for a new park. We're not talking about building a new fire station. We're talking about maintaining and improving what we have.